This week in comic books from DC, and coming right off the backs of the Dark Knight of Steel series, we have All Winter. Oh, so good. Just so good. And then in reverse, going into Marvel, we get Namor. So bad. So bad. And in Independence, we got Destro. And I'm going to be honest with you, that's a pretty solid read, too. We have a lot of good books this week. So let me try to sell you some coffee real quick, and we'll jump right into the review. Check it out. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, you wonderful weirdos, let's go ahead and kick it off with All Winter. I'm going to tell you right now, I really enjoyed this. It's great. It has such a Conan vibe to it. So the Dark Knight of Steel series that went off kind of read like a Shakespearean type stories where it was mostly about the family and the politics at the time, and then they kind of did this weird thing where they kind of morphed the story into it was just very different. But this is coming off where we have Deathstroke as kind of a Viking mercenary kind of guy, which is kind of his stake being a mercenary. But what's great about this is we have a quest type story here where we have to go retrieve somebody, and then we find that it's actually somebody who's extremely significant to Deathstroke in his past, his ex-wife. Right, and a possible child. Now, this thing is purposely done in black and white until we see the child that's in here who's in full color. So the question is, and they mentioned the fact that their world is gray and white and black and whites and all this other kind of stuff, and then to kind of see it at the end. So at first it was more done, it read like a kind of a metaphor of the land, but now we're finding out that no, it's lacked in color for some reason, and that's what made this great. Vander Savage is kind of the evil emperor who's taken over various kingdoms as he kind of just goes hell scorch onto the earth. This thing is great right now. I hope it doesn't take some weird turn, kind of like what the original series did. I hope they kind of stay on this track here. I think it would be very interesting. Moving on, World's Finest. So yeah, I went ahead and picked up the last issue of this arc right here. This deals with the fifth dimensional imps being attacked by a Doommite, if you will, who's another imp who takes the kind of persona of Doom. Imp. Yeah, that's kind of a weird way to put that. But ultimately what you get in here is a great moral lesson about just staying out of people's way when they're trying to do something. And you're constantly just there to be a bother. In other words, an internet troll. Right? Like, people can't accomplish things that they need to accomplish if you're too busy trolling them, or just being a pest to them, or a constant problem. Batman delivers this speech to Batmite, who at first appeared to be sacrificing himself, but somehow or another survived a blast. Honestly, just picking up this book at its end arc here, it's going to be a very confusing story because they reference themselves a lot throughout the story and the things that happened in it. So you might get a little lost on it, but definitely overall, it was a great story arc and it was fun. It had some whimsy to it and it had some real parts in it that kind of had some real heart to it. So I thoroughly enjoyed the entire series. A standalone issue by itself? Yeah. All right, next, Namor. Issue 1. So this is weird. The artwork in here, I don't know. It doesn't complement the story. It's very heavily narrated, meaning that these are the thoughts of Namor as you read the majority of this. And a lot of it is just over verbiage, right? It reads like a book would read with no illustrations, right? Where you have to describe everything in it. I don't think that was necessary for this. A lot of this text you could have cut down. Now, I know, right? You pick up a book with words in it, you complain how many words are in it. I get it, but we don't need, hey, look at this beautiful coral reef and verbiage when we can actually look at it. Way too heavily written on that. Also, this kind of Namor's always been a unique individual in the kind of mutant sphere of Marvel as being the only one that is like him, meaning half human, half Atlantean. You gotta go to DC to find something like that. But also the way that he looks compared to the way other people look under the ocean as well. And they kind of, like, it should have always been there, I guess, but they kind of overplayed maybe the racism part on it. I thought it was kind of weird, and a lot of it was off-putting, and a lot of it is just perception at the end of the day. Although I will say the guards giving Namor pee to use as water, because that's what he needs to survive, is kind of a that's just kind of a jerk move. And the fact that people from Atlanta want him dead as well. So if you're kind of not up to speed on the current story of Namor, he tried to take over the world. This happens a lot. For some reason, we always do this with sea characters. They're like, I'm going to take over the land. And there's always this harsh negotiation thing because of pollution or whatever. Right? They live underwater. They live above the water. There's... That's always a thing. So as far as that went, it was kind of tropey on that end. And for some reason, whenever we're dealing with these underwater, highly advanced cultures, I might add, there's always this kind of old world monarchy that kind of goes down, which is going down now in this story, as the tribes of Atlanta are ultimately fighting each other because somebody wants to be in charge of all of it. For such an advanced society, you'd think some things would change. I guess. I don't know. All in all, the book just kind of missed me. Next, Incredible Hulk. I wish I could tell you about this story. This is slowly becoming a drop for me. So here we have yet again another kind of side quest thing. Instead of just telling us the story about what the eldest is and the fractured son, instead we get this kind of Bruce Banner being in the Hulkscape is what we're calling it now. Horrible name. Not everything needs to be named after the character just because it goes on. It's just something that's related to the character. But in this one, Bruce Banner's trapped in it again. He's got one way to escape. Betty Ross is there for some reason because that was a thing during the Immortal Hulk thing where she kind of took on a red harpy persona. Harpy. A woman. There's a joke in there someplace. But all in all, I don't know if I care about this anymore. Like, we get the Charlie character. There's a monster inside of her that needs to come out, right? Like a Hulk type thing. We haven't seen it yet. We're not going to see it for a while because we got to figure out how to get her out of this ceramic doll thing. And then on top of that, I couldn't tell you. Because we're so busy breaking off into these other weird tangible, untangible type quests that are off to the side that I think we just lost track of the story at this point. And I think I'm done. Like, I don't want to chase this down anymore. All right, moving on. Going into Independence, we're going to kick it off with Rocketeer. #1 came out. This is exactly what you would expect. This is a Rocketeer story. So this takes place during the building of the Golden Gate Bridge. The Rocketeer and his little gang, right? There's a woman and, of course, the older guy that knows mechanics very well. They're going out to San Francisco, one for a movie deal for the young lady, who also name is Betty. And she's filming a movie or something out there and to kind of see the Golden Gate Bridge. So now we got kind of a time frame. This is going to be key because there's Nazis in the bay. So it kind of fits the time frame, right? And basically we're just going to have his antics there. This was all just a setup. I thought it was a little too long on the setup. Like, there was a lot of sitting down and eating meals, and you know how I feel about this kind of stuff. Characters inside of a book, panel after panel after panel, of sitting at a table with food and coffee, and that's the main point of your story, and just lines of dialogue to just show that everybody can get along is it's weak. But I expect this to kind of launch off because really all that dialogue in here was just kind of tell you who the players were, what the relationship between people is. Because Rocketeer, now at times, most people probably don't know that there's a whole team of people that work with the Rocketeer. So this was ingenious in that aspect, but if you know, already and you're already a Rocketeer fan, you're probably like, oh my God, just get on with the story already. Please. So, yeah. Next, Thundercats. So, this is kind of weird. So, we had our first arc in the story. We're launching the second arc into this, where we meet Vulture Man. You remember Vulture Man? He runs a team of vulture people. They're mutants. Their original home was Thundera, but what we found out is Third Earth in this is actually a penal planet. So, like, the worst of the worst from Thundera, mostly mutants or criminals, the worst of the worst, were kind of sent to Third Earth, kind of like what England did with the Australians, right? Just go live there. Bye. Right? But what's interesting in this is we get the self-reflection from Panthro, who knows that he maybe kind of got out of line a little bit with the leader of the Thundercats, Lion-O, but it's not totally his fault. The change from Lion-O becoming an adult from a child and how he experienced that there was a big gap in it, right? Think about if you raised a child or something, and for some reason, one day the kid just shows up and it's an adult, and you're like, oh, I got to treat you like an adult now. So that can cause conflict, right? You don't have that organic growth of working with each other. You skipped steps, so two people don't know how to work together. There's a lot of self-reflection in that in here, and of course Snarf shows up. I don't like how we're doing Snarf. I'm still not a huge fan of the design of these characters, but I do like it when characters express some self-reflection over their misconducts, even if they're the heroes, villains, whatever the case may be. I think that adds a lot of realism to the story, so kudos to you for that, writers. And I've been hard on this story. I should put that out there. But this was interesting. Next, talking about interesting. Let's talk about Destro issue number 2. So in here, for you that maybe you're not a big G.I. Joe fan, maybe, the whole concept of G.I. Joes is relatively, like you understand it, but you're not deep into the lore like a Star Wars fan. You got two very different types of fans there. I am a thick, deep G.I. Joe lore fan, right? So in here we find out that Destro and the Crimson Guard, Xamot and Tomax, right, own different types of company. Well, the same type of companies as two different companies. One is more of a militia, militant, think of the guys from Blackwater, right? And they also make a few things that in the arms realm. Destro is straight up just an arms dealer. But the same markets kind of apply here. So the two companies go at war with each other. Literally. Like they try to destroy each other. But what we kind of come to realize, and most people may not know this is where the deep lore comes in. The Crimson Guard characters that you generally see in G.I. Joe, they're not really Cobra. They're part of the Crimson Guard, which is the company that Xamot and Tomax own. Right? They bring that in to supplement the Cobra stuff. So in the history, that's kind of where that fits in. Ultimately, what we have in here is an agreement between the two companies, essentially, to stop having collateral damage and keep the war more internal. Meaning that they had a peace talk to agree to try to kill each other just without so much collateral damage. I don't know why I like that so much. I'm like, hey, if you want to fight, fight. But, let's not tear up the bar type of thing, right? Let's take it outside. That's what this felt like to me. And I don't know why I liked that so much. But I did. And also you get to see a lot of cool, let's be honest, the vehicles in the G.I. Joe universe, if you will, have always been cool. And you get a lot of those in here as well. So I thought that was really fun as well. Of course, more bat action as well. Battle Android Trooper. So, super cool. That was super cool. All right, next. G.I. Joe, number 308. Great cover. Right? So, we have the initial attack going on. Serpentor's got his mutant soldiers, enhanced mutant soldiers on stealth bombers, and he's going to drop them into Springfield. G.I. Joe got its team of ninjas together. Which was the one thing I never really liked about G.I. Joe. Just all the ninjas. Like, it was really cool when they had a few, but now they got like a whole team of them. It's kind of weird. But anyway. And they're on their way to Springfield as well. Why Springfield? Because that's Cobra Commander's headquarters, and that's where everybody wants to attack. He's the first one. So G.I. Joe's doing a sneaky peek. Serpentor's attacking him to cut him off and destroy him. And Destro's got, Baroness and the real Zartan going there as well to kind of do a sneak peek too. That's really fun, right? Because like everybody's converging. So now lines are like officially drawn now and the battle's kicking off. But somehow or another, Cobra Commander knew that these cats were coming and was ready with a bunch of, Cobra soldiers with flamethrowers. Because everything catches on fire. I don't care how enhanced it is. So that's my haul and review for this week. Obviously, G.I. Joe's my pick of the week. Because that's extremely biased. I don't have to be fair. This is what it is. Mostly because it's just a great storyline in it. I'm really enjoying that. So all in all, that's it, folks. I got nothing else. This is a short one this week. Definitely let me know what you thought about it below. If you haven't subscribed or bought some coffee or commented down below, please consider this today the option to do that if you found any of this entertaining. And until then, I'll see y'all next week. Bye.